often put it this way. In order for us to be in the state that we're in today as people, we have to be out of our minds. We literally have to be crazy. It is necessary for us to be crazy. It is necessary for us to be backwards. It is necessary for us to be maladjusted. It is necessary for us to be disunited. It is necessary for us to be self-hating. It is necessary for us to be filled with an inferiority complex. In a world where the European is essentially about 10% of the world's population, if that 10% is to continue to rule over the other 90%, it must keep that 90% out of its mind. It must keep that 90% in a state of deception. It must keep...
And I'm back, and I'm back, and I'm back, and I'm back. My name is, as the screen says, Brian HRap Williams. This is the End of the Bench Media. This is a few minutes with HRap. Thank you for tapping in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate you sharing your afternoon with me. And as always, I need you to tap in. If you're not watching this live, go to www.theendofthebench.com, www.theendofthebench.com. And if you're watching on YouTube currently, hit that like, subscribe if you haven't done it already. Go there, watch the video. As usual, I have a Black History video. It's going to be, lately I've been putting in videos that are a little more graphic so you can understand the dire situation that we're being faced with. Now, thank you again. I keep saying thank you because I'm truly appreciative of you spending your time with me. I thank my parents, Dolores and John. Dolores and John created Brian. Brian created the End of the Bench. And here we are, hitting like, hitting share, telling a friend to tell a friend, and subscribing if you have not. What I want us to understand is this. We are in a situation, and it's a tough road to toe, as they used to say back in the day. Our elders used to say it's a tough road to toe. And we are entering rough waters. We are entering rough waters. I want you to understand what your situation is. The situation is this. You are 90 days. In a few days, you'll be 90 days into a fascist regime called Donald Trump era. He's doing everything he can to become a dictator and make this a one-party country. And then that way he can do what he wants to do, and him and the rest of his friends, who I believe are him and his cohorts, who I believe are white nationalists, white supremacists, people who have no positive energy towards people in my community. That's what I think, that's what I see, and that's what I think it is. Now, with that being said, we can still prepare. What does the word prepare mean? That means get ready. That means get ready for the future. We have consistently reacted, meaning things have happened to us, and then we have to regroup and react to the situation. First and foremost, let's identify what the problem is. The problem is war has been declared against us, and they're fighting the frontline people, and they haven't got back to us. They're using the original game plan set out by the Nazis in Nazi Germany, put propagandizing and making enemies and divide and conquer. You divide and conquer the working class, and when you divide them, you will be able to conquer them, because then they'll make themselves pods, and if they make themselves pods, we can mow over each pod and never have to worry about the collective. That's what's going on. And how are they doing that? They have people that they're using the greatest tool known to man, ignorance. Ignorance is the greatest tool known to man, because when you have ignorance, as I referenced Carnegie Woodson yesterday, if you control someone's mind, you don't have to worry about their body doing anything, because if you say can't, it is a scientific fact that when you say can't, no, don't, and I'm unable to, the problem-solving portion of your brain shuts down immediately. You're no longer a threat, and we move forward, and we do what we want with you. It has been proved. It is a time-honored tradition. If you tell someone they can't, if they don't have the intestinal fortitude to say I can, they will sit down, and that's it. That person, that entity, that group, or whatever it is, it stops right there, and it continues to chase. The dog continues to chase his tail. No progress, no nothing. Not even understanding what happens if I catch my tail. That's where we're living right now. We have people. We've separated ourselves into fractions. LBGTQIE, black, black bourgeoisie, the boule, all kinds of, I'm the woke party. But at the end of the day, they're not going to walk up to us and say, hey, you're woke. Let me not kill you. No, the war is against you. The war is against you. Period. End of sentence. We are the largest population on the face of the earth. We're the greatest threat to the people who are in power. So the war is against you. And all of your allies that are in agency with you, they are ancillary pieces to the bigger pawn, the Black community. Because if we can wrangle the Black community, we can control the whole situation, because they are the greatest threat. And that's just it. Why is it that you think they get you to focus on what they do is they study you? We don't have to study them at this point, or we believe that, because we think, oh well, that'll never happen again. What will never happen again? Do you understand? It took an 8-year period to take you from enslaved a person, less than chattel, to full citizen after the 14th Amendment. You had to do the Dred Scott situation that had to be upended. You had 1,000. You had half a dozen things had to happen. But in an 8-year period, you went from farm hand to citizen. What is it that makes you believe that those same techniques and those same apparatuses cannot be reversed, and you find yourself back in a horrible situation? Just like the Nazis. The Nazis said, we have the most powerful army in the world. The United States of America has an army 27 times larger than its next ally. The most powerful army in the world. They think they have a footprint on money, and that's what's slowing them down. I've said this once, I've said it 1,000 times. Evil only knows how to shoot straight at you. Evil doesn't come at you from different angles, and that's the simplicity of evil. But the reason evil can win in a lot of cases is that people that evil are up against, they don't prepare. They assume the best. Just like the great Kwame Ture mentioned this in one of his speeches. He said, the only issue I have with Dr. King is he believed in nonviolence. He believed that now if you show that you show the inhumane abilities of a person that's violent and acting against a person that's nonviolent, people will open up their heart and see things the right way. And as he stated, the only mistake Dr. King made is assuming that his enemy had a heart. And we can no longer assume that the laws will protect us, because, for one, we haven't taken the necessary steps to make sure those laws will protect us. We can't wait on the humanity of people who have murdered, raped, killed, cannibalized, enslaved, and poisoned people for the last 200 plus years. As a matter of fact, since 1492. So we're talking about almost 600 years. This is what they've done. We must also understand that these people think they own this because they stole it, because they raped people for it, because they ate each other for it, because they killed us for it, they enslaved us for it, they annihilated a group of people who were here when they got here. They did all those things to obtain this, so they're not going to give it up without a fight. They're going to do everything they can to do what they can. They can do everything they can to maintain this fictitious position of power that they've created in their minds. And as long as you stay ignorant, as long as you don't realize things like, if you come into power, you can do what you want to do. A lot of people, I'm not going to vote, but we want reparations. Well, just for the smart people in the room, for the smart people that think like that, move to the front of the class. How is it that you're going to compel a Congress that hasn't done it for 162 years to do it, even if you don't have people that you voted in place to rewrite that? How about that? Do you understand that at one point in the history of this country, you had people who received 40 acres and a mule, and then President Johnson, who took over after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, said, nah, we get that back. You had a treasonous portion of the country who took over the country, took over the southern portion of the country, and they said, we're revolting from the country. That's called treason. That's called sedition. That's a violation of every contractual law that the United States has with itself, and those people were given their property back. And you think that the ancestors of those people gonna wake up and say, hey man, you know, we've been doing those brown people who are descended from Africa, we've been doing them wrong for a very long time. Let's do right. No. You know why? Because it's genetically implanted in them, because their continent flushed the toilet and sent them over here. Those are the dregs of humanity. Those are the people who enslaved people didn't want around them. And you think they're gonna do right. You have to be nuts. You have to be outside of your mind. They are basically flooding the pools of information with disdained lies. You cannot prove 90% of the stuff that you see, but you still have people. People text me, people send me things in the inbox. Hey, look at what I seen on Facebook. Look, I heard this on the news, and we've already been told that China, Russia, and other entities, white nationalist organizations, the United States federal government, because if you trust the government, you're outside your mind, because these are the same people that are allowing these things to happen. And they say they're feeding you propaganda to poison your mind, to poison your spirit, to bring negativity into you, to basically hold you at bay. Make it so you only do right. You just stay right here. And if I can keep you right here, I can destroy you, because then I can just run right up on you and run roughshod right over you. And then we just keep it moving. This is what's been happening for 400 plus years, 500 plus years. And guess what, man? It's time for us to wake up and realize that we're in a fight, and there is a fight that's being participated in. And at that point, that fight will be won if you prepare. Now, if you want to sit around and look at big you and little me, go right ahead. There are goo gobs of people that think they know every damn thing under the sun, or they want to prepare and show you that I'm smart. But what good is smart without action? You might be able to recite the entire Constitution with all the amendments to me. Now what are you gonna do? Oh, well, you know that. So how many times have you had conversations with your friends? How many times have you had a conversation with your younger people in your community, the elders in your community, and anybody that can come together and organize? Do you bring this up when you go to church? Oh, you can quote the Bible, not a problem. Can you go to the church and talk to the pastor, talk to the deacon board, and talk to the board of directors, and have people organize and get things done? Have you thought about that? See, it's good to be the smartest guy in the world, but what are you going to do with all that intelligence? What are you going to do with that information? Do you really believe the great Dr. Martin Luther King, the great Marcus Garvey, the great Malcolm X, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, Medgar Evers, the Black Panther Party, Self-Defense, SNCC, and all those other organizations, you think those are the only intelligent Black folks in the United States of America? And if you do, you're outside your mind. You are outside of your mind. Great people like Fannie Lou Hamer, who could initially even pass the aptitude test to vote, improved herself, and then she was able to vote and almost got beat to death for it. Probably accelerated her death because they beat her so bad. And we're sitting around laughing and joking and pointing and letting people know what I know. Okay, how many of your people in your family know what you know? How many of your friends know what you know? Or is it just I know this? Nah, it's just I know this thing. Because now you showed the whole world that you're smart. But it don't do anything, because guess what? Me and my partners, we talk about these things. I talk to other people. I'm part of an organization, a charitable organization. So I have cohorts that we're trying to make moves. I'm planting seeds. Are you? And that's the thing. Are you going to allow yourself to be like the rest of middle class America and suffer the consequences of your laziness? Keep talking, man. That's what we do. That's why we're in this situation. That's why we're in this situation, because ADOS, I don't want to deal with them because we're going to get reparations. How? How many people even know that you have it within your power as a citizen of the United States of America to request a rewriting of the Constitution? The person who wrote the Constitution actually said it should be rewritten every 20 years. How many of us are paying attention to that? How many of us even know that? Thomas Jefferson, just in case you didn't know. See, these are the things that we must inundate. That's the information we need to inundate ourselves with and put ourselves in play. Yeah, you got people, I've seen podcasts, oh man, you think they gonna let you, but they didn't let you do a damn thing. No one has let Black people do anything in the history of this godforsaken country. Not one thing. Nobody has let us do. You know what they let us do? They let us work for free. They let us work for free. That's all they let us do. We have made demands and we made concessions. This is why I said we have to prepare. We can no longer just say, I'm going to boycott Target. Okay, we boycotted Target. Okay, and guess what? They're on pace for a $4.3 billion loss. Now, here's the question. Where are we going to put that $4.3 billion? How many of us, I wish I had my wallet on me because I'd show you the One United Bank account. That is the largest independently owned Black bank in America. How many of us are removing our money from One United, from Chase? How many of us are moving our money from PNC? How many of us are moving our money from Washington Mutual, Wells Fargo? How many of us are doing that? How many of us are even proactive enough to say, you know what, I have an auto loan and I can just call, I can open an account with One United and ask them to refinance it at a lower, I'll bring all my accounts over to you at a lower rate. And you get the residual money from the interest. Most banks will do that. How many people have the financial wherewithal to say, hey, I have 3 credit cards. I could take these 3 credit cards. I can go to One United Bank and say, give me these same credit cards, or give me one credit card with this much credit on it. Pay these off and I'll pay you the money. See, that's what we have to do. That's how we can be reactive. I mean, proactive instead of being reactive. Please excuse me. That's how we can be proactive instead of reactive. Move all our financial power, because if we could knock a $4.3 billion patch out of Target's behind, what about the other entities? What about, and don't go into these Black establishments expecting Target, Walmart, Bloomingdale's, Macy's, Louis Vuitton, and all of that quality immediately. I mean, that customer service and immediate quality, because you've been giving them your money for a couple hundred years. I mean, for 100 and some odd years. So we're going to gradually build up our situations, and then they're going to improve. Oh, the internet was moving too slow. That's why I went back to Amazon. Well, guess what? I remember at the beginning of Amazon when I used to steal music from them. And they didn't realize that you could download the music. And I got a lot of music for free. But I can't do that anymore because as they grew, they got better. So what we're going to have to start doing is allowing our people to build up as well. Something with what I also find that we need to stop doing is this: entering situations with a critical mind. Look for the better in things instead of what's wrong. When you approach your significant other, when you see your children, my son used to get the same horrible grades I got at the beginning of high school until my mother took away football and baseball. Oh, slow down. I can do this homework now. But guess what? She could have just said, "You're a dummy," and left me alone. Just like I told my son, "Hey man, you reading off my blueprint. Let me help you." So we can't look at the worst in things and say, "Hey, this is the worst. This is what we're gonna deal with." No, the war has started. We must prepare. So when we win this situation, because guess what? We had a numbers. White people in general. Even if, I don't believe in white people, for first and foremost. There's no such thing as white, because you're only white once you cross the Atlantic going west. When you go east, you're Anglo, English, you're Irish, you're French, you're Spanish, you're German, and so forth and so on. So even if we use white and European, we're gonna go back to our roots, African. Even though that's a fictitious name too, but that's not what we're talking about. Let me not major in the minors. We are from the greatest continent on the history of the earth, and it's more people that look like us than look like anybody on this planet. How about this, people, ladies, gentlemen? How about this? In 2035, there will be more people in Ghana and Nigeria than on the continent of Europe. Ghana and Nigeria, there are 51 other countries on that continent. But 2 of them will cover that. So how will we ever consider ourselves minorities? How are we ever allowing the underclass to take care of this? You saw at the beginning of this. At the beginning, you see Dr. Amos Wilson said, we must literally be out of our minds. And he doesn't mean what we would deem crazy. Out of your mind means not using your mind properly. We can call it crazy, we can call it insane, we can call it autistic, a different way of thinking, we can call it a manner of things. But you know what it is? It's the inability to maximize the full functionality of your brain, your intestinal fortitude. That's crazy. Because if you are at war and you're being attacked physically because your food is being poisoned, they poison in the water, they poison in the soil, they poison in the air to make money. And then you're being attacked spiritually because they want to give you half the story in whatever deity that you represent. They want to give you half the story. They're going to make one of y'all spiritualities evil. And that will be the Islamic spirituality or the spiritual concept. And then they're going to break up what you would consider Christianity into several different things. And then you can point each other and say each other wrong. And then, then they want to pull things out your Bible. Well, this is an abomination. But guess what they said before? Guess what the Bible says before it's an abomination? Judge not, yea, ye be judged. It also said, love the sinner, not the sin. And then it also says, let me handle it. Allow me to handle what the sin is. So if you just follow God's rule and stop pointing out the worst part of something, or this goes along with my ideology, guess what happens? All of a sudden, you live in your own life and worried about your own damn self. You're not worried about everybody else. Well, God gonna catch up with you because you know what? Like y'all always say, I love the Lord. I love Allah. I love Jesus. I love Jehovah Jireh. I love Buddha. But all those entities line up and say, man, your own business. Stay in your lane. Let God handle it. They all say that. But they get you to argue about it. And then you're not focusing on not being poisoned via your land, not having proper education, not having proper opportunities, not having some dictator attempt to incarcerate you, which brings me to my second point of the day. Do you understand that while a lot of people have been duped into this, migrants are ... whatever you believe about the migrants, seeing how 85% of us migrated here in the first place, forced or voluntarily. If you pay attention to the news the other day, it might have been yesterday or Friday, either way. If you were paying attention to the news, what you saw was this. You saw the president of Venezuela came over here. No, excuse me, El Salvador. Do you know ICE is picking up people who are gang members and terrorists and sending them to Venezuela and putting them in death camps, what I would call prisons? Oh, I thought the Constitution said something about due process. Because they're terrorists, they're out, and your president is actually having people in front of the Supreme Court saying we need to be able to take these people, put them over there, even without due process. And the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. And like I said yesterday, who gonna stop me? Because we're not taking the necessary steps to get rid of this clown. But hey, I ain't gonna vote because ... whatever it is. See, I really didn't like Vice President Harris. What didn't you like? She locked up a bunch of dudes who had weed. Was weed illegal? Yeah. Listen to that, man. Listen to the ignorance that is a lie. She was the federal prosecutor. She was the state's attorney, but she wasn't supposed to lock up the drug dealers. But then you sit up with your friends and you say, it's getting crazy out here. They need to do something about this crime. We don't want to be like Chicago. Again, Chicago is a synonym for violence in America. Newsflash, Chicago is not even per capita the most violent city in Illinois. A second newsflash, Chicago is not in the top 10 violent cities in the United States of America. Would you like to know what last time I checked the #1 city was? Anchorage, Alaska. It ain't a whole lot of black people up there. Because all y'all said Chicago is a synonym for black people. And when we say black, violent Chicago, y'all ain't thinking, oh man, it's white gangs in Chicago. Oh, yeah, they are. Harrison Jets. Yeah, it's gangs that don't look like us in Chicago that wreaking havoc as well. But we're not going to deal with that. But back to the El Salvadorian president. Do y'all know your president is giving El Salvador $6 million to house the few hundred people that he's had them pick up, and he's identified them as gang leaders and terrorists and gang members and terrorists? Well, he needs to get those people out here. But guess what? He picked up a few people who are not gang members and terrorists, and they ain't even bringing them back. He's taking people from New Jersey, and they sitting in Louisiana right now waiting to be deported to El Salvador, and ain't nobody doing anything about it. But we need to get rid of the migrants. Hey, by the way, some of those people are American citizens. And then you heard him say this. You heard him say this, people. You heard this guy say, we also need to get rid of some of these homegrowns, some of these gang members that's been knocking down old ladies and robbing people on trains. Interesting. One of the people that got knocked down on the train was a black man, got choked to death, and a white man walked on it. White man walked on it. So let me see. All these dudes who, for whatever reason, y'all love the N-word. So instead of saying the N-word, you say ninja, or you say YN. What is the fascination about being insulted? What the hell is? Are we gonna start calling ourselves jackasses at some point too? Hey man, what's up, my jackass? No, you're not doing that. But back to my point. It's people in major cities throughout the United States of America who have gang activities, who are registered gang members, who could be a threat to society. And he just said he want to move some of those people to El Salvador. So what you gonna do? Oh, well, they shouldn't be in gangs. But what if you just registered as a gang member and you're not? Because you do understand, if you're like, they used to do this in Chicago. If 3 or more people were in a group standing around in Chicago, they could run up on you, put you in the paddy wagon, and arrest you for what is called mob action. And guess what? If one of y'all is a registered gang member, everybody got put in the gang database. So that means they can just start snatching you up, or they can start watching the videos where y'all sitting with the blue hats and the red hats and throwing up your fingers and all that here in Chicago and wearing different colors here in Chicago, and they can grab you too. Oh, that's not going to happen. It's not. Is that why the prisons are filled with brothers that didn't do it? Do you know 53% of overturned convictions, 53%, 53%, 53%, it's only 100%, and more than half are us. More than half of the people who've been convicted of a crime look like us that get sent home after no, it wasn't. How many times do you turn on your television and you see somebody who is convicted of a crime wrongfully? He just got out after 18 years. He just got out after 10 years. He just got out after 25 years. So that person is going to be registered. He's probably registered as a gang person in the gang database, and he's susceptible to fascism. But we're not talking about that. Oh, by the way, since that ain't gonna happen, did y'all run to the jail and get y'all brothers and cousins, aunts and uncles and friends out of jail? Because that can't happen. Tell you what, I'm gonna call my man Dana and ask him, did he do that 15? Because I know he did. But I also know he did commit that crime because I was with him. But that don't happen. I got a cousin, God rest his soul, who was almost convicted of murder. But that don't happen. So if we just gonna let these people do what they want to do and keep putting labels on each other and then continue to separate yourself from the bad Negroes, because I'm one of the good Negroes, and I know we gonna find out what you know. Like the kids say, you gonna F around and find out. But it's time. I'm way behind schedule. It's time to show you some Black history stuff, and I'm gonna show you how venomous, wicked, and evil the people you are that I'm talking about are. And nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is the date. And I got something, you know what? I'm gonna tell y'all something when I come back. Listen to this, watch and listen to this video. And I want you to understand what you're up against. And when you see that, then hopefully it'll trigger you into action. It's HRap. I'll be back shortly. In the bench meeting.
There are places in this world where history whispers its darkest secrets, where the very soil holds the echoes of untold suffering. One such place lies hidden in Natchez, Mississippi, a place so inauspicious, so haunting, that even the trees refuse to forget. It is the Devil's Punch Bowl, but this isn't just a name. It's a graveyard, a mass grave where thousands of newly freed black men, women, and children were left to die by the very people who had sworn to protect them. Let's retrogress. The year was 1863. The Civil War was tearing America apart, but for enslaved black people in the South, the winds of change carried a new kind of hope. The Emancipation Proclamation had been signed. Freedom was finally within reach, and so tens of thousands of enslaved people ran and fled from plantations, escaping the horrors of slavery in search of freedom. And where did they go? To the Union Army, to the soldiers who had come to set them free. But what these freedmen and women didn't know was that their nightmare had only just begun. Natchez, Mississippi became one of the largest assembling points for freed slaves. The Union Army had taken control of the city, and thousands of black families trooped in, believing they had found safety. But instead of food, shelter, and protection, they found something else, something worse than the bondage they had just escaped. The Union didn't see them as people, they saw them as a problem. And so the Union devised a means, a place to contain this problem. A deep, unforgiving ravine, a natural prison where there was no escape, the Devil's Punch Bowl. They bundled thousands of freed black people into this place. No food, no water, no medical care, no way out. And then they locked the gates. What happened next was beyond evil. Starvation, disease, death. Thousands perished. Entire families wiped out in the shadow of a war that was supposed to free them. The smell of decay filled the air. Bodies were left to rot. The Mississippi River carried away the forgotten. And yet, history barely spoke about it. Why? Why has this story been buried? Why has the world forgotten? Perhaps because the truth is too damning. Perhaps because it reveals a side of history no one wants to admit. In this video, we'll expose what was meant to be left in TJA dark. Beyond being a story of suffering, this is one of betrayal, of cruelty.
Now, if you want to watch the rest of that, go to www.theendofthebench.com and you will get the creator of the video credit and you give me credit, and I need you to continue to visit my website. I am not trying to just be there. I'm just saying, I can't play that video in its entirety, but you can go to my website, www.theendofthebench.com, and watch that entire video. The creator gets the credit, I get the visitation. You guys have been doing me a tremendous solid with the visiting of www.theendofthebench.com. You guys have been doing me a tremendous solid by subscribing, liking, sharing. I got a congratulations email today from YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As a matter of fact, to thank you even further and show you the appreciation that I have for you, I have my, certain metrics that I want to meet by the end of every month. I'm there already in the month of April at the exact halfway point. I'm 100% to where I wanted to be at the halfway point. Thank you for showing up and showing out. But back to the point at hand. In the closeout, the game plan. As I stated, we have to start preparing for what is ahead of us. What's ahead of us? Look, a lot of people don't like to participate in marches and things of that nature. I don't have a problem with that. But what you are going to have to do is start activating. You will have to activate. You will have to download the 5 Calls app and get in contact with your state rep, your state senator, your U.S. senator, your governors. These people are in control of the purse strings of the country. And you must voice your disdain with them. You must align yourself with an organization. You don't like the Urban League. You don't like the NAACP. If you're here in Chicago, you don't like Operation Push because, quote unquote, they don't do anything. Well, those organizations are volunteer organizations. You can infiltrate those and start talking. You can go to your local, I don't mess with the church because the church ain't this and the church ain't that. Well, guess what? Every church in the history of the United States of America, especially black churches, I can only speak for black, they love people who volunteer. And if you start showing up to volunteer, you start making demands. Why are we not teaching civics? Why are we not teaching black history? Why are we not helping the community? Why are we not getting clothes drives? Why are we not going to the, like with me, my organization, we can start going to dry cleaners and say, hey man, I know you got clothes that's been here a year, 2 years, 3 years that people are never gonna come get. Here's my 501c3. Why don't you donate those clothes to me? And you take those clothes to your church and you start housing clothing the unhoused and helping these young ladies and young men, help them for job interview clothing. You can help these young ladies and young men clothe some of their younger children, middle children and young adult children so they can have things. We can start working together. We can start doing those things. We can start volunteering and going to get the food from the food banks and packaging them up. We must, at that point, you create a galvanization. Guess what? I used to do that at my church, at Share Foundation, Missionary Baptist Church, 4104 West Roosevelt Road. We used to hand out food the first Thursday of every month. And guess what? I used to have some of the dudes who were in the organizations, because we're not going to call them gangs, so to put them in jeopardy. They used to come help us bag up and never even wanted a bag. They just hand out stuff. Yes, those guys that y'all call YNs. Yes, those guys that y'all say are disruptive. They used to come and help with no problem. Because my pastor died, and the people at my church used to talk to those young people, not at those young people. See, when you talk to somebody, you let them know that you respect them as a human being. When you talk at them, you're being condescending and disregarding of that human being. That's what you're doing. We must learn how to talk to our young people. Guess who else we need to talk to? Speak about history. And I just showed you a history video. We must start talking to our elders. What good does it do to have a 75-year-old uncle, aunt, cousin, if you never have a conversation with them? If you never ask them what was going on? What was this? See, because you have all the answers, but you really don't. You know what a book may have told you. You know what you've heard. But you know what you haven't done? You haven't heard it from the ears of a person who lived it. A book has nothing on experience. See, a book can only tell you so much. That person that you talk to, he or she can give you breakdown, step, day, hour, month, feelings, and things of that nature. And once we revigorate that angst, that anxiety, that anger, hopefully it'll help us move. Then, as I stated earlier in the program, we need to start funneling our money over to the independently black-owned banks. But they're too small. They're small because your big behind ain't went over there and put some of your money in there. You can start putting in things like a $500 CD, and you're going to make profit because you're going to allow them to lend out your money. You can do what I said, transfer some of your debt to them, and then you pay your debt off. And then, because guess what? If you don't start doing things of this nature, guess what's happening? Your president has also wrote out an executive order a couple of days ago saying banks can start charging you $75, $80, $90, $200. Remember when Obama didn't do nothing for black people when he made it illegal for them to start charging you all those ridiculous bank fees? Dude just undid that with an executive order. So, but Obama didn't do nothing for you. But who is hurting on that level? Who bank is charging them all these ridiculous amounts? The working class, because you're scraping by. See, these are the things that we need to start doing. And then, like I said a couple of weeks ago, you need to get some firearm training. You need to be getting some self-defense classes. You need to be in some self-awareness programs, like at that church that I told you. Hey, you and me come here every Sunday, Mr. Pastor such and such. I'm going to need to be able to teach this Black History class on Saturday. And I'm going to need some of these sisters to bring up some of those young people in here. And guess what? Now you got 3 hours to do nothing because I'm going to sit in here and teach them. And the church is going to feed them for 30 minutes, and I'm going to teach them some more. And guess what? Now, that same young person that could have developed into a street level and street thinking individual, because his thinking doesn't pass the street level, he might remember the day that you helped him. And then he'll know why he needs to work harder at school. And then we ain't ever have no more LeBron James. We'll have the next Stokely Carmichael. We'll have the next Kathleen Cleaver. We'll have the next Angela Davis. We'll have the next Maya Angelou. We'll have the next Paul Robeson. We'll have the next Carter G. Woodson. We'll have the next Thurgood Marshall. We'll have the next A. Philip Randolph. We'll have the next Baynard Rustin. We'll have the next one of those, because we don't need any more running, jumping Negroes, running, jumping, singing, dancing people. We got enough. But we need some more people with ingenuity and stick-to-itiveness and the ability to never settle for second best. That's what we need. Now, we can use running, jumping, throwing, dancing to finance those things. We can, hey, you can be the best kid at this university and you get a NIL deal, and then you take you and 3 or 4 of your teammates that come from that area, y'all open up a grocery store. And now you're making money in the perpetuity. And most people in the community, if you put up a quality grocery store in that community, they're going to support it just because they say, oh, those young men that went to such and such university, and they put their NIL money into a grocery store on the west side of Chicago, on the west side of Atlanta, on the west, in the Fifth Ward in Houston, and Little Haiti and Florida. That's what we're doing. What we have to do is set our own pace. And then meanwhile, we're on the back end. We're registering to vote. We're creating, guess what? This is what we can do. And I just started this as I was saying this. We can go to our churches, and since they want you to have too much ID, what we can do is start having all the elders at the churches, all the elders in the community. You know how we go door to door for the census? Hey, man, do you have a state ID? Okay, good. We're going to register you to vote. We're going to make, and then we can help people go to the DMV and get them registered to vote, get them, like in Chicago, when you get get your driver's license or ID renewed, they ask you, are you registered to vote? Bam, you register that person to vote, and then we pay for the IDs, and guess what? We are voting in mass, and we control our own destinies. Why would we wait on them to continue to have this fascist megalomaniac dictate policy to us when we can even sit back and say, okay, and then in 2032, we are going to have enough people in the Senate, enough people in the House of Representatives to rewrite the Constitution. Then we put limits on the Supreme Court. You can only be a Supreme Court justice for 15 years. You can only be in Senate for 15 years, or you can be on the Senate for 3 terms, or 18 years. And you can only be in the House of Representatives for 5 terms. That's 10 years. After that, if you really want to serve the people, go your ass out and serve the people. But we must rewrite these situations, otherwise we will be enslaved. And with that being said, it's Tuesday. I'll see you tomorrow. It has been great seeing you guys. Thank you. As I say every day, I need you to like. I need you to subscribe. I need you to comment after the show ends. Go in, let me know where you're listening from. It is important. Just go in there, bam, bam. Go to www.nmh.com, pop in. This sucks, and leave. You ain't got to say nothing. Watch the video, the Black History video. It's a stream on the show today at the top, and then you scroll down, you see the bio of the program, and then you see all my other works, and you go to other pages to see the work for the last 90 days. In 15 days, you're not going to get any more January. It's going to be February, March, and April, and then so forth and so on. Thank you for tapping in. I greatly appreciate everything you do for me, man. The people who have been subscribing, the people who have been commenting, the people who have been liking, the people at YouTube thank me, so I'm thanking you, because without you, I'm just a dude talking to himself. This is your man, Brian HRap B. Y'all already know how it goes. 2 fingers, 1 word, and you know.
And it is necessary for those people who rule over us and who rule over African people the world over, if those people are to stay in power, they must destroy our ability to love each other in a healthy sort of way. This is why